if we start talking, and would we consider ever coming back and have a child together?
I mean, what the f***? This woman lives on a different planet to the rest of us, honestly. Need I remind you, Natalie, that you left Mike? You were with Josh up until like a couple of days ago. Now, before we get to Mike's answer, let's just start at the beginning. So we left them in the last episode as Mike came to visit Natalie and her mum. And after a picnic in the park, Natalie's mum excused herself in order to give Natalie and Mike some privacy, some time to talk. So when we join them again in this episode, all three of them have bundled into Natalie's small car to drop her mum back off at home.
Say bye to mama.
Майкл, дорогой, я тебе очень благодарна. Спасибо. Мне было очень приятно встретиться и благодарю тебя.
My favourite thing about Natalie's mum and Mike's relationship is that she just talks away to him in her language, which he obviously doesn't fluently understand or speak, and he just hums along and somehow they manage to communicate. It's actually quite sweet, and I'm sure Natalie thinks so too, especially when she compares their relationship to the very clear dislike that her mum had for Josh.
Michael has always been there for me.
I need to finally make right decision. One right decision can change my life and make it easier and beautiful.
Natalie's approach to getting back together with Mike is so selfish. She's literally playing with this man's heart because she has no other options. She wants to just stroll back into his life and pick up where she left off. She now feels that her life would be easier with him. But the thing is, at no point here is Natalie thinking, oh wow, I miss Mike so much. I made a huge mistake. I need to make it up to him, perhaps. No, that's not what she's thinking at all. All she's thinking about is herself. I want a family. I want kids. I don't want to work. Maybe Mike can fix that for me.
I still want marriage and kids. And I'm running out of time.
So as the pair drive to their destination, the energy in the car is very different from the two of them. While Mike doesn't exactly seem enthusiastic at the prospect of speaking to Natalie alone, Natalie, by comparison, is excited to have him there. She tells him that her mum really missed him and that it's good that they now have this opportunity to catch up.
We can talk and,
Me and Michael haven't talked that much since Mike helped my mom to get to America, so...
This is so telling as to how self-absorbed Natalie is. Like, Mike helped her mum get out of the war in Ukraine, and by all accounts, she's barely even spoken to him since. Like, I don't know about you, but if my ex helped my mum escape a war-torn country, I'd try my hardest to at least stay in touch. But Natalie has been too busy trying to become an actress in LA, which kind of seems fitting, really, considering she lives in an alternate reality from the rest of us.
You should have seen Michael's eyes when he first saw me. It was like that, oh my God. And, Michael would give me feeling like I'm a queen of the world.
We can all see that Natalie is romanticising the past here, right? She's painting a rosy picture in her mind's eye about how her past was with Mike in order to validate her desire to now pursue him again. If she can somehow convince herself that their love was this epic romance, then it makes sense to her why she should fight to get that back. But the thing is, in reality, they weren't right for each other. She was the one that walked out on their marriage. Only now that hasn't worked out for her, she's now come running back.
The way Michael looked at me, we should write a book about it. Like, Josh never looked at me like that. It's a totally different story.
If your love was really that good, you would have never left, Natalie. Or actually, let me rephrase that. If your love was really that good, you should have never left, Natalie. But you did, and that's okay. People break up all the time, as you're well aware. But when you break up, you need to move on. You have no right to now come running back to Mike as a rebound. Not even a rebound, as a way of having kids. So, as the pair arrive in the park for a walk, Mike finally takes the opportunity to share where his head is at.
It's very nice to see Natalie. You know, lately I've just been thinking about a fresh start and just looking at all my options and stuff. Just trying to really find myself again.
Wow, okay, so with talk of how nice it is to see Natalie again and talk of fresh starts, it kind of hints that he might be open to trying again with Natalie. I mean, he has just travelled all this way to come and see her and her mum. But the curious thing is, his demeanour on this trip is saying something else entirely. Like, if he really wanted to try again with Natalie, surely he'd be a bit more cheerful, maybe a bit more affectionate towards her. Right now, he's keeping his hands in his pockets. He seems almost disinterested. So it's left to Natalie to try and make him interested again. And that begins with explaining why she acted the way she did.
Like, I wanted my industry so bad, so I kind of burned bridge between you and me because of the work I wanted to do.
Natalie actually manages to admit that it was a mistake for her to drop everything to try and be an actress in LA. And I guess that's probably as close as Mike's ever likely to get to any kind of rationale or logic for why Natalie acted the way she did. But Mike seems like a man of few words. He just sits there and nods as Natalie pours her heart out. I really can't tell if this speech is having any kind of impact on him. Come to think of it, is this speech something that Natalie rehearsed? Is it even authentic? Is it really coming from her heart? Because she does seem to be saying all the right things.
And I realized that I lost something really important, much more than money, work, much more than career or anything like that. I lost family.
If this is a rehearsed performance, Natalie's doing a great job. She's saying everything right, and it seems to be working. It's starting to have an impact on Mike. You can literally see how much it means to him that Natalie's realised what she threw away. But Natalie isn't just apologising to Mike out of the goodness of her heart. As always with Natalie, she wants something in return, and it's now that she makes her ask.
If we start talking, and would we consider ever coming back and have a child together?
I genuinely don't think that Natalie understands how unhinged that request is. To just come out with it and ask your ex this in the very first conversation you've had in over a year is just insane. Like, why isn't she first trying to establish a friendship with him? Why isn't she trying to rebuild bridges that she burnt to the ground before pitching the idea of having a child together? It's absolutely bonkers. But thankfully, Mike is not about to be swept up in all of Natalie's craziness.
No.
No. Why?
Because I'm ready to move on, Natalie.
You know that people with blue eyes meme? Well, Natalie's the literal definition of this.
Bro, that's what I was saying. Oh, I am so sorry. No, you're okay. You're okay. Are you okay? I'm great. Really? How are you? Uncomfortable.
Yeah, that is so Natalie, isn't it? Look at Natalie's eyes. They're so intense. They're more than enough to make anyone feel uncomfortable. Perhaps this is all a very timely reminder of what life with Natalie was like for Mike. Because that fresh start that Mike was talking about evidently now no longer involves Natalie being in his life. Natalie asks Mike if he's met someone new, and he says no. He says he's hoping that he might meet someone one day. And that leads him nicely onto his next point.
We've been separated for years. The only thing I ever wanted was to have a family.
But I still love you. I care for you.
You've had a relationship with other people.
What do you mean with other people? It was only one guy, Josh. That's it.
Natalie's scrambling. She's desperately trying to convince Mike that she loves him, but her actions up until this point prove otherwise. But But with that being said, Mike can't exactly hold the fact that she's dated other people against her. He's also doing exactly the same. Like, in the same year that they separated, he immediately moved on with another reality TV star. So they are both on the same boat here. But so far, Mike is holding his own against Natalie.
Now I'm your backup plan or what? Huh?
I care about you and I. You're my
There is
husband.
no me and you. You made
talk
that choice,
constantly on the
Natalie.
phone.
You made that.
You lie.
We're friends.
Natalie can't believe the totally rational words coming out of Mike's mouth. Her sheer audacity to call Mike her husband and try and play that card when he's literally meant nothing to her for years is outrageous. Natalie's really coming across as the bad guy in this conversation, and the worst part is she doesn't even realise what she's done wrong.
You just told me that you have traded family, me, and everything for what you want in life.
I was not thinking then about what I'm having now.
I wasn't thinking then about what I'm having now is absolutely no excuse, I'm afraid. You've made your bed, now you need to lie in it, Natalie. I'm very sorry, but you traded Mike in because you thought the grass was greener on the other side. You cannot just expect Mike to accept you back in his life, take you back and give you a kid because you split up with your other boyfriend a matter of weeks ago. Life does not work like that, Natalie. The world does not revolve around you, I'm afraid. I'm just so glad that Mike is showing self-respect here. He's telling Natalie exactly what she needs to hear.
This is what you wanted and you got it. The grass is not always greener on the other side. You can't backtrack towards me. I'm not your backup plan.
The thing is, Mike may be telling Natalie what she needs to hear, but is she even listening? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if, now that Natalie has a definitive answer from Mike, she's not racking her brain trying to work out which other man from her past she might be able to re-establish contact with. Is she perhaps going to reach out to one of her other ex-husbands? I don't know. But at least Mike is getting the validation and the closure that he needs in order to be able to finally move on.
She left, and she's still not happy. Natalie doesn't know what she wants at the end of the day. She just wants to hit the finish line with everything. This is where she wanted to be.
Is Mike being a bit vindictive here? Is he having a little jab here at the fact that Natalie's dreams of being an actress have crashed and burned? Well, yes, he is, but can you blame him? I don't think you can. Mike explains that when Natalie chose to leave him, she made him feel like all the love he had for her wasn't good enough. The life he gave her wasn't good enough. And it's really hard to argue with that point. If it was good enough, then she wouldn't have left to chase her dreams, would she?
And that's why I'm ready to move on.
To who?
I'm not putting anyone out there, Natalie. I'm ready to move on.
You see? You have no one, I have no one.
That doesn't mean that we're gonna get together and frickin' make babies.
Natalie, can you not see how desperate this makes you look? For someone who had such big dreams, she was gonna come to LA and take over the world. She's now just willing to settle for an ex that she wasn't happy with. Why? Because she's been single for a couple of weeks and her mum is nagging her about giving her grandkids. I mean, this really isn't a good look for Natalie. She's not coming across well here. But as if things couldn't get any worse for her, it's at this point that Mike drops this bombshell.
I'm taking steps to make the divorce final.
You can't.
Well, I
Mama
can.
loves you.
Well,
I care for you.
And that is the fresh start that Mike was after. He wants to cut all ties with Natalie and just move on with his life. I really don't think Natalie expected this conversation to be going as badly as it is. She really thought she'd be able to swan back into Mike's life and get back together with him. She really convinced herself that they had a shot at starting a family together. Only the reality is she's now about to end today without a husband, less than she started the day with. And since this episode was filmed, it seems like Mike has kept his word. Much to Natalie's disbelief, Mike officially filed for divorce in December 2023.
It's your final word.
This is my final word?
Okay. I need to take a moment.
Natalie excuses herself, proceeds to walk within a very short distance, within hearing distance, and then starts loudly crying. It's all a bit awkward, but clearly Natalie hasn't grasped the situation properly. She claims that Mike is just doing this out of revenge. He hasn't forgiven her for leaving him. And while my retort to that would be, well, if he is, he has every right to. Equally, the truth is, Natalie is just so self-obsessed that she can't comprehend he may genuinely just not feel anything for her anymore.
I'm not divorcing him. He's my family. You don't divorce family. Family is for life.
Now might be a good time to remind everyone that Mike was Natalie's third marriage. Marriage doesn't necessarily mean family, and even family isn't always for life, as she well knows. Keep in mind, she herself has told us all the trauma associated with her father leaving her mother, her father not being in her life. So after she's had her cry, after claiming that Mike's family, Natalie just gets up and walks away. She doesn't say a single word to Mike. She just walks away into the darkness, crying. Look, I understand that there's some complex emotions at play here, but this is not normal rational behaviour. This whole conversation with Mike went exactly as it should have, but sadly, Natalie was expecting something completely out of the realm of reality. So instead of running back to her ex, perhaps at 38 years old, it's now time for Natalie to learn how to stand on her own 2 feet.